or in the beginning stages. So a plan of action is actually it is very important for designing a sound research. Okay, so today we have with us Dr. Binu R, Assistant Professor of Commerce, Government College, Attingal. To moderate the session, we have with us the Head of the Department of Commerce, Professor Sunil S. So now I welcome all participants to this particular program, and I welcome Dr. Binu R and Professor Sunil S to this program. And now I invite Professor Sunil to moderate the session and to introduce the resource person. Thank you. Over to Sunil, sir.
The sound is audible.
Audible.
Good morning to one and all. Today we are going to start our third section of the webinar series under the research forum, and it is initiated by the IPSC of our college, and our effort is progressing, and I appreciate the research director, Dr. Pradeep sir, and all the faculties in our department and the Department of the Commerce and Economics to support the program. And today we have the resource person, Dr. Binu R. He is my friend and one of the faculty of our department. As far as he is concerned, I think he is completed his research work in tourism sector in the year 2008, and after that he worked as rendered his service as professor at DC School of Management in Munnar, and after that he joined SM College Kollam, and after that he joined in the government department, and now he is working in our department. And I think he is able to address all the majority of the issues relating to designing a research work. And with your permission, I invite Dr. Binu R to handle the section. Thank you.
Thank you, Sunil sir. Pradeep sir, can you hear me?
Yeah. Audible.
Shall we start? Right away.
Yes.
Okay. So dear friends, Pradeep sir, our HOD Sunil sir, my dear colleagues, and my dear research scholars. Today we are going to see something about research design. Being all of us know about the theoretical concept of research design, I am not at all going to concentrate or to say anything about the theoretical side of research design. Rather, I focus more on how to research a study very well, how to design research, how to prepare the research design of a study by taking some practical examples. Also, being a vast area, it is not at all possible for us to cover within a time span of 60 minutes the entire area in research design. It is not at all possible. So I am concentrating only a limited area. To those areas where our application is mostly required, where our attention is mostly required. Then the remaining part simply to be, that we can solve it with further consultations. It is possible, and also it is simply to be too simple. So primarily, I am focusing on two important studies which we resolved. Then subsequently, our presentation will move on some theoretical side of research. Then and again it moves on to what is a factorial design, then and randomized block designs. There I am concentrating much more. And pre-experimental, post-experimental, post-research design. In such area, our limit attention is too limited. Then and also subsequently, we are ending up with. I will give you an idea about how to identify a study as a descriptive one or an exploratory one, or a causal research design. That much idea definitely that you have at the end of the session, at least. Okay. So with this introduction, we are actually moving to our class. Then, so research design, it actually refers to uh, the blueprint of a research study. Then now our question is that everyone knows, but our question is how to prepare that blueprint. Then that assumes more significance. Then they are actually going to prepare a research design. So our question now here is, right answers to wrong questions. It is also okay. Then, so our question is, right answers to wrong questions is worthless. One of the important conclusions. We will say maybe a type 1 error or type 2 error in such a way that we are classifying it or we are calling it. Right answers to wrong questions. The questions are wrong. Why the questions are wrong? Because that questions are not related to our study, but we framed our study. Then another question is a decision that on the basis of a solution to a wrong problem may be actually harmful. That is equally responsible. Then, so with this end, I'm going to draw your attention to one of the practical problems faced by Coca-Cola India in 1991. During 1991, what happened to Coca-Cola was that they tried to change their product mix. Traditionally, the Coke is having a taste, and they decided to change that taste. They conducted a survey on that. For conducting that survey, what they did was that they selected some persons from the wayside vendors. Those who are purchasing product from the shops. So do you remember? On an average, an American is consuming more than 40 liters of Coca-Cola annually. That is their annual consumption. In a month, they will consume minimum 5 liters. That much that 5 to 4 to 5 liters of Coca-Cola that they consume. So during 1991, what happened to Coca-Cola was that they decided to change the taste of the Coca-Cola. Now various versions of Coca-Cola is available. Then what happened because of that was that they come out with a new version with a new taste, but the market rejected it. The basic reason is that they never interviewed. Then when they inquired into the reason behind that marketing failure, they found out that they never approached the right samples. That's the problem. I told you that on an average, more than 5 liters of Coke is consumed by an American. And for this study, for conducting this study, the sample selected by Coca-Cola was mainly from the wayside vendors. Those are purchasing from the shop. But more than that, the consumers who are purchasing Coca-Cola for their homely consumption constitute the major consumer market. They never interviewed them. They never collected data from them. So the questions are right, but from whom the samples are selected, being asked in the first stage, that went wrong. So they arrived at an important conclusion that do not ignore. So you are conducting a behavioral study. If you are conducting a behavioral research, the important problem is that do not investigating the emotional aspects while conducting a behavioral research. So that is the main important problem that they find. This is the problem. Then another example is that I already presented one occasion. Then it is actually practical research which was awarded. Then it is a study relating to the Indian paint industry. Then they have the market structure. Indian paint industry market consists of around more than 2,000 players. And directly moving to this study because we are going to design this study. then have a $350 billion market is there. The consumption of decorative paint industry is around 4 kilogram. It is actually very low in the world market. It is and actually unorganized sectors is there. More than 300 players, 360 players is there in the Indian paint industry, and also organized. Organized comes only around 65%. This is a situation, and we do have a classification of what is a decorative paint and industrial paint. Decorative means which is used in homes, not exterior or maybe exterior or interior, but industrial paints are used for painting machines, for vehicles and so on. But our study is mainly concentrating on this, decorative paint industry alone. And the main problems associated with this study is that the supply exceeds the demand. Then in both the decorative as well as the industrial paint segments, industry is very fragmented. Then bargaining power of supplies because it is fragmented nature, and these are the problem associated with this paint industry. Then in this situation, one of my friend study as how to create demand for paint industry, how to create demand for this decorative paints. So he identified one of the latest concepts in marketing, that is experiential marketing. Then because we saw many advertisements of paint. Then many of them advertisements such a beautiful dimension that even just by simply rubbing over it, you can wash away the dirts. Then so he identified a new concept which we call it as experience marketing, and he thought that brand experience actually leads to why you are selecting a particular brand of paint. The reason is that it is because of the experience that leads him to a particular brand. That is what he actually did. He identified. Then so experience marketing mainly concentrated not only on the product alone, it also focused on the touch point. Touch points means how much you feel when a building is painted in a beautiful way, then how do the others spell on that? Then Apollo paints, the best example is that that they never try to reveal the name of the paint. That everyone is have an envy with them with that paint. So experiential marketers view consumers as rational and emotional human beings who are concerned with achieving pleasurable experiences. So that is what we did initially was that we tried to define what exactly the concept of research. Here the concept of research is or topic of research is experiential marketing and how it can be applied in paint industry. So we do try to define what exactly mean by experiential marketing. Then, so in experiential marketing, what we have was purchase behavior plus touch points. Then touch points means experience and less focused on the product attribute. Then, so here are some examples. Follow your nose because because of the smell, because of the color, because of the odor, then we are attracted to your product. If a company made in such a way, more market their products in such a way, that is actually called it as experiential marketing. So these are the various elements. 93% of the consumers say live events are more effective than traditional media. That is a present change. They want to see the product lively. Even then only will select it. That is why the companies are attaching a video on that. Now video is not enough. The live event should be there. 96% of the consumers attending events are inclined to purchase. If you attend an event, definitely you will purchase it because of the experience. You are not looking into the product attributes. Then you are interested in the purchase attributes. Then, so these are the statistics related to that. What we did was that we tried to apply this concept for marketing decorative paint in India. So the experience strategies are, I already told you the touch points, relationship management, value creation, purchase process experience, like that. So when this experience occurs, at the time when you are purchasing, product experience occurs when you interact with the consumers, then or with the party. Then we identified these 5 different sensory experiences for experiences marketing. Maybe sensory experiences are there, affective experiences. All these are theoretical set which we tried to then formulate or which we tried to crystallize before conducting the studies. What exactly mean by experiential marketing is because without understanding whatever be the study that you select, maybe it is ecotourism, maybe it is then PWD, or maybe it is because of it is a study relating to KSFE or the role of technology in banking or whatever it is. Then you do define the concept first. Then identify the variables in that. That is the first step, and that what we did in here in this study as well. And also we identified what exactly mean by brand preference. They are prioritizing. That is actually brand preference. From this, then we come to a conclusion. From the literature review identified so far, more than 120 articles that we reviewed, and based upon that, we come to a conclusion and we find out certain problems related to it. Consumers retain no interest in decorative paint category. Then, until the need for painting is felt, because then, even if you are tried to think of painting, you never thought about, at that time itself, you never thought about painting. Then, whenever you thought about painting your house, then only you thought about, a painting company. Then, that's the important problem. Then, dealers, painting contractors and painters will recommend brands and companies that give more profit. That is normally done by dealers. And the decorative paints in the unorganized sector is actually the most predominant. From this conclusion and from these problems identified and from the literature review, my student, one of my friend created identified a problem, impact of brand experience on brand preference, a study among consumers of decorative paints in urban Kerala. And this is actually the topic that is selected, impact of brand experience on brand preference. Then I just made a slight change in the title. That is actually influence of brand experience on brand preference in decorative paints. There is a small slight change. Here it is impact, but here it is influence. So if you can use the term impact, but the problem is that here the study is of some different nature. So I deliberately changed the wording. Each and every wording words in your research topic assumes significance. Whether it is evaluation, whether it is impact, whether it is assessment, whether it is analytical, then all these themes all these terms definitely seem to be defined in a micro narrow manner. That assumes significance. Then that I will clarify later. So the problem is now, and based upon this, we identified certain variables. That is, if you want to, if I do want to analyze the influence of brand experience and brand preference in decorative industry, you just look into the title. Which are the things that we are in need of? Brand experience is there, brand preference is there. Without having a clear-cut idea about what is brand experience and what is preference, then you cannot conduct this study. So at the first part itself, what you want to do is, you should make a clear idea about, you should make an elaborate reading and have to conduct some observation or direct interviews with those who are in this field. What exactly mean by brand experience, brand preference, especially in a decorative paint industry? Then, and also what is a decorative paint? Which are the different classifications? Which are the leading companies in that? What are the trends? Then definitely a person who is having a PhD is liable to answer all these things. Then, so you should identify the present trends, brand experience strategies for generating brand preference. What are the present strategies used by companies for generating brand preferences? Then perception and satisfaction level of consumers, role of dealers in purchase of decorative paint by consumers, and also dependency of consumers on dealers preferring a particular point. So these are the variables that we initially identified for conducting this study. Then, initially we thought that this much variables are enough for conducting this study. So to remember, don't think that this is an easy process. Here the present tense that everyone should understand. Then brand experience strategies for generating brand preference. You just look onto the different paint companies in India. Then what are the strategies adopted by them? Have a literature review on that. You will have an answer to this question. Then if you purchase the paint, what about your perception before purchasing and after purchasing? What is your satisfaction? You can use a questionnaire. And the problem with paint industry is that the dealers are focusing much more. Then what about the role of dealers? And also dependence of consumers on dealers in preferring a particular brand of paint. These are the things that we try to identify. So based upon these variables, then we tried to formulate the objectives to study the present trends in decorating industry. That is absolutely needed. To analyze the brand experience strategies applied by selected paint companies for generating brand preference among consumers. This is the second objective. Then to study the perception and satisfaction level of consumers on the decorative paints. Then to study the role of dealers. To explore the dependence of consumers on dealers in preferring a brand of paint. These are the objectives that we selected for this study. But the question now here is how to formulate these objectives. This is actually what we want to think. Then, so what is actually an objective? So objective is actually the researcher's version of the problem. Many of us think that, when we saw the title to a particular study, and normally we will ask what is the primary objective. The primary objective is actually the title itself. then we formulate in such a way. And based upon that primary objective or the research problem that we identified, research problem is actually not the research objective. Research question and research objectives are different. I will clarify it. Then somebody will ask, why you don't have this much objective? Because that particular guy thought that in one error occasion, I mean, asked a certain research scholars that why this objective? Because it is not matching with your title, with your problem identified. So there is a problem. I mean, this much objective, is it enough for answering the problem identified? So before proceeding with the further design of this research, I just draw your attention to some theoretical area. What is actually an objective? An objective is actually a researcher's way of defining a problem. I mean, that is actually an objective. Okay, so researcher's version of the business problem. Then a business problem, I mean, any problem, any social science problem. Suppose if you are conducting a study on, tourism, ecotourism marketing. The problem that he confronted was how to market ecotourism in Kerala. That's the problem. In that study, then the researcher will determine what are the objectives. But the problem is that there is a generally accepted frame, and from that generally accepted frame, from that generally accepted problem, he or she needs to formulate that problem. I mean, identify the research objectives. In that ecotourism market study, when I selected, first step is to identify the trends in tourism industry, ecotourism centers, the marketing strategies used by them, satisfaction of ecotourists, maybe SWOT analysis. These are the objectives that is set. These are my versions. But if somebody will ask a question, why can't you compare that ecotourism market in Kerala with that of Tamil Nadu? Then anyone can ask a question. Anyone can formulate a question. Then if you formulate such a question, then it forms his version of objectives. So, the research objectives actually represents researcher's version of business problem. Purpose of the research expressed in numerical terms, then measurable terms, not numerical, measurable terms. When you set an objective, you are in a position to read. That is the main problem associated with it, with many of our researchers. Why? Because when we saw an objective, then we are in utter confusion as how he or she finds an answer to this question or answer to this objective, and also the definition of what the researcher should accomplish. This is what actually an objective. So essentially identify. So initially I pointed out that objectives of a study actually represents researcher's version of the business problem. That doesn't mean that the researcher is having the freedom to select any objective of his or her choice. No, nothing. It is not like that. The researcher can select an objective based upon the title or based upon the problem that he identified. But that problem is having many dimensions that I will show you. Normally, there is a difference between a research question and another research objective. So research question is one of the problem that I identified in this lockdown period, in this corona times. Many of us having not a job, many of our friends in society are having not a job. So the problem is, many organizations are working. Should the organization offer outplacement services? So what is actually outplacement services? So this is a problem that I identified. Suppose, if 100 persons are working in our organization, because of the lockdown period, we are forced to lay off around maybe 20 or 30 employees. 30 employees are being laid off, posted from the organization. And subsequently, the organization will help in capturing them a better job. The organization, because they are very good employees, it is because of our financial problems or because of marketing problems that we ousted them. But subsequently, we offer placement services to them. We make a telephone call to them, telephone them, then ask them, have you a job? Then these are the areas or these are the companies. Depending upon your qualification, that you can find a job. Such service. This much information is provided by that company. That is actually called as outplacement services. Then this is one of the topmost area in one of the topmost area as of now. As well as in human resource management area studies. So the research question is really, are managers aware of outplacement services? This is the question. So do you remember, if you want to answer this question, are managers aware of outplacement service? First of all, the manager should be aware. Then to determine managers' awareness using aided recall. This should be the objective. Okay. So whether managers are aware, if you want to answer that query, then we want to check the awareness of managers. Merely by asking a question that, are you aware? So, whether you are aware about, outplacement services to a manager, that is not at all enough. We want to check the awareness level. So that is, there is a difference between a research question and a research objective. Research objective is much more, it is broader. It is for answering the entire aspects related to that question. And also another issue, how concerned are managers about outplacement services? I mean, this is another question. What about the concern? Okay, to measure manager satisfaction with existing personal policies. Okay, if you want to analyze the opinions of managers, then first of all, you should have an idea about to measure manager satisfaction with existing personal policies. That is actually the main objective that we need. It is actually something broad. So research question and research objective is not at all one and same. It is research objective is something more broad, and it is in a position to answer the queries. And also, then before proceeding with that design element, then we are focusing on some technical element. What is actually a variable? Denoted by the letter X. As you know, I am not concentrating on much more on it. Any variable means the value of anything, the value of which will vary, which may be categorical or numerical. Categorical, maybe if you identify gender, sex, maybe male or female, definitely points are there. Sometimes it may be continuous. So that is limited. And also hypothesis, an unproven proposition or possible solution to a research problem. Tentatively, which are not yet proved, then that we will focus later. So based upon this much idea, so we formulated an objective. So to remember, these are the things that we have to taken care then while formulating the objective, while formulating an objective. So you don't have the freedom to select any objective of your choice. The objective should satisfy the research problem. The objectives are set in such a manner that it should provide answers for solving the research question. Then what we did was that based upon this, we prepared. We identified the variables. Okay, so these are the variables that I identified. See, this is the study brand experience on brand preference. The trends. First of all, do remember the first objective. The trends is there. Can't identify the trends in paint industry. Maybe the sales. Which are the trends? Who are the leading players in this independent variable one? The market size of Indian decorative paint industry. The market share of each paint company. The products, which are the important products and brands. Category of innovativeness. Each and every independent variables or sub variables that we want to identify. And also another important one, whether brand experience leads to brand preference. So brand experience which may be sensory experiences is there. The 5 important components that we identified: affective, cognitive, physical experiences, social. These are the things. And also, why do you prefer a particular brand? What prompts you to purchase a particular brand of paint? It may be, is it the environmental friendliness? Is it the variety of color? Is it the availability of paint? Is it the company name? Is it the brand image? We want answer for all these variables from the customer, then from the public, from the consumers. Then only we can say that we can conclude that the brand experience will lead to brand preference. So before proceeding with that, or for proceeding with that, we identified all these independent variables. How far the preference will lead to this brand experience, the cost of application, quantity, quality, product innovation, and all that. Then for the second objective, fourth objective is perceptions. Then suppose if you say that you heard something about this one, what we call it as Berger paint or Asian paints. Does the name as Asian paints, does it hold good? Or does that prompt you to make a purchase? Does it is having a brand image? Or does Asian paints is more qualified than, more quality than Berger or Nippon or something else? What about the price? Then guarantee. You want to cover all these information from the customers. Then only we can answer the question. What about the perception? Maybe you can use a 4-point scale or a 5-point or a 7-point semantic differential scale for answering this question that I will show you later. Then, likewise, satisfaction level, we collected data relating to all these things. Then the sales. Then, so for the end, around 64 different variables that we identified. Then comes the most crucial part. We have to answer all these questions. How we can answer these queries? So the first independent objective is to identify the trends in Indian paint industry. So this object is related actually measures the trends, market size data. So these are things. So from primary assessment itself, we can come to a conclusion that the data is quantitative in nature. So the industry players are there. Then we identified the leading players, Berger, Asian, Nerolac, Nippon, like that. Then the market size. Then the market size is we are estimating from available company reports or industry data. Then what about the market size? Market share of each painting of each brand of Berger. Then products and brands, category of innovativeness. Now the question now here is how can we find the first industry play independent variable is actually this one where industry plays that we can identify industry market. Then this independent variable 2. Then how can we analyze it? Market size by using a simple pie chart. Then, but if you want to measure the market size, then multi-dimensional diagram is more required. Then if you want to analyze products or brands like that, then the number sales on each every product is required. Then category of innovativeness, the fifth, so the fourth one. In the case of the products and brands, the data seemed to be how much products, the sales of each and every item. So the data is quantitative. And if you are analyzing the sale of this Berger alone, then definitely it is only one sample is there, a one sample test that you can use. If the data is quantitative, the sales record sale on, a profit record sale on, then you can use a quantitative data tool. Maybe 2 or maybe t-test or 2. If it is, we are comparing it with that of Berger, with that of Asian, then the sample size is 2. Then it is, you can apply t-test. Then, or ANOVA. If it is more than that, then you can make use of ANOVA or something like that. So this much idea that you have in your mind before proceeding with the research. Then, and also, the design is actually, so you can find Berger is one group, Asian is one group, Nerolac is one group. You are going to measure all these things. Then, and also, design, randomized block design. So from dealer 1, dealer 2, dealer 3, you are collecting information. Then all about all these, about all these things, variation in sales or performance. Which company is making more profit, which company's products are more selling. So normally there is a confusion. Is there any variation in the sales made by these companies? So that itself forms a hypothesis. Okay, so that is how the hypotheses are actually originating. It is not at all a very much difficult thing. When you prepare a design like this, you can simply make a conclusion that you can make simply a conclusion that you can simply make a conclusion that you can simply formulate a hypothesis because different paint companies, then their sales are varying, performance are varying. Does that variation in sales is significant? That is actually the hypothesis that you need to formulate. So then with this we move on to the second important objective. How we can design, prepare the design of the second objective. What the second objective measures experiences, data, then nature, then measures the experiences. Data is actually qualitative in nature. Brand experiences, then experience is there. Which are the variables that we identified? Sense, feel, think, act, relate, social identity. So these are the things. So take one independent variable. If you purchase a product, paint, then how does the sense affect it? It is because of the communication. Maybe visual, verbal, product presence, touch, feel, all these things assume. The communication from the pen company, the advertisements, is it very high? Good? Very good. Then we can, because of the space limit, I just identified, I put a 3-point scale. It is actually required is a 7-point or a 5-point like it scale, 7-point semantic differential scale. So what I did was that, then here in the case of Berger alone, we are comparing. How does the communication of Berger, the visual feeling of Berger, then the verbal feeling of the product of Berger, the touch, the feel, how it feels. We are collecting data about a particular paint industry alone. That is one. Then we are comparing it with other company. Maybe because you can prepare a table like this. Then maybe Berger. We are comparing all these things. So the brand experiences in brand experiences variables are there. Brand preference variables are there. So you are comparing with that of Berger with that of Asian. So normally there is a confusion. Is there any difference between the brand preferences of Berger, Asian and Nippon? At the same time, whether that brand preference will lead it to brand experience will lead it to brand preference. Whether this one lead to brand experiences. So brand preferences, brand experiences leads to brand preferences. That is our hypothesis here. So it is not at all a difficult thing for setting a hypothesis in such a manner. And also, how can we collect a data? Here what I used was a 3-point scale. Then maybe it is 5 or 7-point scale is better. Then data analysis. If it is 1 coming alone, you can make use of Berger. Then and also if it is 2, it is minty or paid. Depending if the data is qualitative, but if the sample size are equal, then we can make use of appropriate qualitative data, qualitative tools of analysis. And also, if it is more than that, you can apply k-test Pascal values or ANOVA depending upon your sample size. And also, then like this. So, I prepared a research design for these first two objectives. Likewise, we have to prepare the research design for the remaining objectives as well. Then the methodologies, we will prepare the methodology for answering each and every question. Then this is actually the whether brand experience leads to brand preference. Then the methodological details are there, which test, which design, and so on. And then likewise, we have to make preparation on each and every objective. This, do remember, this is to be done not this is to be done not after the study. This is to be done before, just after the literature review. And take example of another study. This is something related to rubber board. How they are efficient in promoting rubber industry in Kerala. The title here is Institutional Intervention in Natural Rubber Cultivation. I will give you a brief idea, an empirical analysis of rubber plantation development scheme. So when this particular student approached to me somewhat 4 years back, what she identified was, this is actually a study in economics, submitted in Cochin University, I think. Then this is when she approached, she formulated a study as role of rubber board in promoting rubber, natural rubber. This is the idea that she shared. When it is role of rubber board, he felt that it seemed to be something somewhat vast, and to analyze how far the rubber. So then we limited our study to institutional intervention in such a way. We have a limited time. So from the primary objective is to analyze how far the rubber board succeed in attaining. This is most important. The teen objective of self-sufficiency and import substitution. When we analyze the working of rubber board, more than 100 schemes, 86 schemes are there for promoting rubber industry in Kerala. From that, the most important scheme is the RPD, and we selected that study a lot. Based upon that, we set the objectives, and we prepared, identified, we identified the variables relating to each and every objective. The natural rubber, each and every objective, the natural rubber, what are the things to be included in that session. These are the data that we are in need of. If you collect data, then it actually forms one of your chapters. Then that much specificity that you are in need of. So this is how we prepare the research design. Challenges from the farmers, rubber board, actually it's a randomized block design that we are making use of. And so this is actually how a research design is to be prepared. So we identified two different studies, and now you know what exactly mean by a research design. So before proceeding with the theoretical side, let me clarify once again the methodological side. This is not the one. So here we identified the variables, then we prepared the methodological side of each variable, then relating to this study. It is one. Then do remember, we took one objective, then we identified the variables, we prepared a dummy table, then everything is there. So what do you want to do? Then you can simply convert this objective into a question, these variables into a questionnaire. You can collect data, everything is specific, and you're having a very good idea with as how to proceed with the study. This is actually this much simple as it is research design is. Then we are moving on to some theoretical side of research design. We'll proceed with causal research design later. Then we are moving to what exactly mean by research design and its basic types. So what is actually research design that you know can be divided basically into two, that is exploratory and conclusive. These are the two types of research design that we have in our world basically. I mean, one is exploring meaning and another one is you are arriving at certain conclusions. Then here only insights will be provided. Then it leads to further research. In conclusive research design, then you can arrive at a conclusion. That is essential. Then conclusive design can be classified into two: descriptive and causal studies. Descriptive may be cross-sectional, longitudinal. Cross-sectional may be single or multiple. Then all these are theoretical idea. Do remember, someday someone will argue that it is an analytical research, diagnostic research. I don't know what type of research design that is. Then it is actually, do remember, you are doing an exploratory design for clarifying and defining your problem, and providing insights into your problem. I mean, that will dealt with later. These are the theoretical, differences. So the objective of exploratory research is to find insights and understanding. So remember, merely by selecting an objective means, so here, in our first example, in the case of decorative paint industry, first objective is to identify the trends in paint industry. Then when we say that paint industry, we are describing the features. When we describe the features, how much sales is, how many companies are there. When we say all these things, don't think that that study is a descriptive one. So descriptive one actually it is something different. Based upon the problem identified, then you just based upon that alone you can identify a study as an exploratory one or a descriptive one. Then the features are information needed is loosely defined. Here in the case of conclusive research design, it is tightly defined. You know how to test the hypothesis, how to relate it with these things. Then for identifying a study as descriptive or exploratory, this is most important, these last two things. This is where you have to concentrate, the finding or results as well as the outcome. So in the if the findings of this study or the results of this study, if it is tentative, if it is changing, say for example, if you conduct a study on the work-life balance of women employees. Okay, if it is a study, you selected women employees in banking sector. If you selected a study and if you selected more than 100 samples or 500 samples from all over Kerala working in banking industry, and you arrive at a conclusion. Then after some time, if you select the same samples and you ask the same question, then the answer will vary. So the initial result is not the same as that of the subsequent results. If the results are changing, definitely, if the outcome is changing, definitely that study is actually an exploratory one, not a descriptive one. But for conducting this study, we must know what exactly mean by banking. It's trends in banking, how many employees are there, how much they are rewarded, how much the time for working shift and everything that we are doing. That is for facilitating or for supporting the study. That is actually us being for not the main conclusion. It is not being the main conclusion of the study. The study on work-life balance is actually an exploratory research design. It is not a descriptive research design. So you to come to the final conclusion, the final outcome of this study. If that final outcome, if it is varying, then that study becomes an exploratory one. If it is not varying, say for example, to analyze the working capital management of Kerala State Cooperative Bank. If you conducted a study, or if I conducted a study, or if anyone conducted a study, that findings will not change. From that findings, we can come to a conclusion. We can take a subsequent decision. If you conducted some study of data up to 1991 or 2000, then definitely there will be no change in that particular study. Sorry, there will be no change in that result. So the result will not change. That is actually the best way to identify whether a study is an exploratory one or a conclusive one. So, and also the exploratory study, the basic difference, descriptive study, causal study, these are actually the basic differences. And we do have limited time, even if it is now exceeded. Then, so I am not focusing on these things. We will move into subsequent research. So experimental designs can be basically classified into four. Pre-experimental is there, true experimental is there, post-experimental is there, statistical designs are there. Here I am concentrating more on this randomized block design, lattice square design, and factorial design. I mean, all these things it is simple and you can simply understand. I will clarify it in subsequent occasions. So qualitative, there is a difference between qualitative and quantitative research design is there. I mean, at present I am not moving to that. Then, so we will upload this the slides later. Call me, and I'm focusing on postal research design now. Okay. Then postal research design. This is this is having most important application as of now, as well as in our studies. I'm limiting on because we do have a limit left with only around 15 minutes. I mean, I am running so fast. I mean, yeah, I'll tell you what exactly mean by randomized block design and a factorial design like that. Then not focusing more on the theoretical part because they, I mean, all are research scholars and you know what exactly mean by causality. Then the theoretical side. I mean, the causality we mean the cause and effect relationship. Then three conditions are there: concomitant variation, time order of occurrence of the variable, and elimination of other possible causal factors. It is not causal; it is causal, cause and effect. Then if there is sunlight, then if there is, then what about the result on predictivity? There is a cause and there is an effect. Okay, so have independent variable, dependent variable, and the effective experimental procedure specify the test units independent, dependent, and how to control the extraneous variable. So here we have the symbols that we used. X this actually represents a variable or represents observation and represents processes in random. Okay, then and also you know, while preparing a design, when you saw the earlier tables that I prepared in the case of pain industry as well as in the case of robot, in what actually it is actually we are reading from left to right. That is the order, time order of occurrence of events. Then here it is X means experiment is there. Then we are observing, especially in the case of a medicine for corona. Then we prepared a medicine. Then we experimented it. We are observing first 20 minutes. Then first 15 days. Then another observation for second, maybe after 30 days. This actually then if we selected people randomly, then experiment one, observation one. So this is how we are reading it. Then so one shot case study means one experiment is there, one observation is there. Then one group post-test pretest means observation, experiment followed by an observation. Then static group, there is an experimental group and there is a control group. First of all, we experimented in some. I mean, we selected two identical field. In one field, we so one sample, one particular type of seed. Then we observed the productivity. Then in another field, we never the ordinary seed is being applied. Then we observe the productivity. I mean, one group is being kept static. Then pretest post-test control group design is there. Here experimental group is there, control group is there. The result is actually O2 minus O1. Randomly we are selecting the topics, then post-test group only is also there. All these are theoretical side. When we combine this pretest, post-test and post-test only control group design, then we will get another design, we call it as Solomon for group design. Here observation is there, experiment is there, observation is there. Again, I mean after without experiment, sorry, we are observing experiment, observation to observation. So here, all these are not much significant as of now. These are significant, especially when descriptive studies are there. If you are following a research design of descriptive research design, I mean you can follow a time series design or a multiple time series design. So multiple correlation is there. Then that much stories that we are applying here. I mean multiple tests. So here observation 1, observation 2, observation 3. Then we are conducting an experiment. Then again we are observing for an intermittent period. Here you can select an experimental group and a control group is there. Then again you can conduct the study as well. Then randomized block design is there. So randomized block design means randomly we are selecting each unit in the population is having an equal chance of being selected. Block means group. Do remember the table that I show in the case of decorative paint industry. So the attitude of people towards Berger or Asian. So Berger represents one group, one block. Then Nippon Paints represents another group, and maybe Apollo represents another group. Then why standardized block design is used? It is we are comparing means, and also similar to the paired t-test. Same population is measured twice, and again even not at a single measurement. I mean the same population is interviewed in a number of times. We will do that. I mean it reduces actually sampling variability. then match set of experimental units. So block A means sorting experimental units into similar groups using a values of extraneous factors such as sorting criteria, right? Similar to stratification. It is not stratified random sampling, it is somewhat. So this is actually, suppose effectiveness of medication. If you medicate, if you take medicines properly, regularly, then have a vaccine and no vaccine is there. Then one sample groups, around 5 different sample groups are there. Mean of various age category, 18 to 40, 41 to 60, then about 61 plus. And this is one group, one block. This is another group, 41 to 60 is another block, and above 61 is another block. So 3 different sample groups are there. Here, mean in this category, then we are applying vaccine and we are not applying vaccine. Mean we are dividing it into two different categories. Then we are comparing the results. What is the result on first block? What is the result on in second block? That is individual. Then we are combining, we are actually integrating these results. That is actually, the integrated result. That is actually the facility offered by randomized block design. So if you are comparing the earlier example, dealer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 dealers are there. Then what about the sales of Berger, Asian, and Nerolac? All these are represents group 1, group 2, group 3, or block 1, block 2, block 3. You can compare the sales of Berger, group 1 with that of Asian Paints with the group 2 and that of group 3. And also you can integrate the results as well. So, the variation in sales. Normally, there is a variation in sales or the variation in preferences. Then also normally variation there. So, what about this total variation? This total variation is due to because of treatment. Why? How the samples are being selected? Suppose, is it possible for us to select, especially in the case of rubber board? Is it possible for us to apply a stratified random sampling over there? Why? Because rubber industry seem to, or rubber cultivation seem to be concentrated in certain specific pockets in Kerala. Then, so our sample is limited to that area alone. Then, normally there is a question: why can't you conduct a study on those areas where rubber cultivation is not there? You can definitely conduct a study, but the purpose of that study is different. Why there is no rubber cultivation? But in the case of paint industry, then that variation you can select a sample from Ernakulam or we can Ernakulam rural or in high ranges. Then that same range is not applicable in the coastal region. Total variation is because of, due to random sampling. Then, and also variation due to blocks. It is also the variation because of groups and variation due to treatment. Maybe you are remembering now the random sampling error. Suppose if you conduct a population study and if you select a sample out of that, is there any variation in the results? That difference is actually called as random sampling. And you can come this if you want to identify this type of variation, then then only then you must make use of this randomized block design. Okay, so here what we have is we can make an intergroup comparison. At the same time, you can make an integrated comparison. More specifically, we prepared a research design in the initial phase. Then here it is an attitude measurement is there. Here you are comparing satisfaction level of Berger, and also satisfaction level of Asian, satisfaction level of Nippon. Here the satisfaction level of one group is there, satisfaction level of another group is there, and then satisfaction level of another block Nippon is there. So there are variations in the opinions of Berger, maybe Nippon, and maybe Asian Paints. And if you want to identify whether brand experience leads to brand preferences, then you want to combine it. So for this is actually the randomized block design that we applied. Okay. This is how we are applying randomized block design, or we are bringing randomized block design to our study. Okay. So this is actually the practical side which I explained. Then this is, and then now what the theoretical side itself. So you can compare, total variation you are having, the variation of in each and every group and everything is there. So you can combine all these things. You can repeat it over a period of time. So that is the advantage of randomized block design which we have. And also don't think that these variables are, actually the number of variables that we identified is more than 120 or so. We limited it, without having any duplication in such area. So randomized block design is there. Then Latin square design, it is actually a 4x4 design, in which each group is having exposed to 4 different variables, critical number of testing units. Sorry, not 4x4, it is 3x3. It is a fact is low, medium, age of laboratories is there. We are measuring the productivity. Then we are measuring the productivity of an laboratory having 15 years of age, 16 to 21 years of age, and above 21 years of age. Each group, low, medium, high, then A, B, C, BCA, equal treatment is through each and every treatment is there. Then moving on to factorial design. A statistical design that is used to measure the effects of two or more independent variables at various levels and to allow for interaction between variables. This is actually an extension of factorial design. Then, so what is actually a factor? Factor V means it is actually facilitate interaction of variables. Factor V means it's actually an independent variable. Factor V means simply an independent variable denoted by the letter X. Maybe one factor design or two factor design is there. And also experimental design that involve two or more independent variables. I am focusing on that. So you can, what is the benefit of that factorial design? You can measure the main effect of the interaction as well as the interactive effect you can measure. So what is the effect of brand experience in the case of Berger paints? That is one main effect. Then and also interactive effect is also there. The influence of a dependent variable by each independent variable separately, that you can measure. The influence on a dependent variable on combinations of two or more independent variables, that also you can measure. For example, combined effect of price, design, quality. This is actually the interactive effect. And the levels are one second. Okay, come back. So the levels of groups or conditions for each independent variable. So here, the factorial design may be, I told you that factor means independent variable. It is denoted as 2x2. It is read as 2 by 2. Here, two independent variables are there. Then two independent variables are simultaneously interacting. Here we have 3 by 3 by 3. Here it is 2 represents one independent variable, 2 represents another independent. So number of independent variables are actually 2. The first independent variable is having 2 treatments and the second independent variable is having 2 treatments. See, I will show you. Then in the case second example, 3 by 3 by 3 means 3 independent variables are there. First independent variable is having 3 different options. Second independent variable is having 3 different options. So I will tell you frankly, I will at least 2 independent variables is a must. It should be random, matched groups should be there. Then before proceeding with this, I will show you the best example that we identify that is shown here. So here, take this one. The fact is that the independent variables are communication, visual, verbal, product presence, touch, feel, related. Okay. So how many independent variables are there? So all these factors are related to brand experiences. So around 7 independent variables are there. So first independent variable is treated in 7 different ways. Okay. So it is actually 7 by applied in how many groups? 3 different groups. So second independent variable is brand preference. So it is actually 7 by 3 factorial design. That is what actually we want to read in such a way. Okay. So 2 independent variables are there, brand experiences, but the first variable is measured in 7 different ways, and the second variable is measured in 3 different ways. So 7 by 3 different way. In the 7 by 3 factorial design is actually is there. Then so you can the advantage is that it is not at all necessary that you should always have the same number of treatments. It may be a 2 by 2 table, maybe a 3 by 3 or a 3 by 2 by 4. Number of independent variables and its treatment may vary. So for example, the crime, effectiveness of attractiveness on crime, which is a 2 by 2 independent variable. So the attractiveness of the criminal, then we are interested in a study like that. What is the effect of the attractiveness of a criminal on crime? Attractiveness may be ordinary or attractive. Crime may be robbery or swindle, escaping of money. Then we are actually measuring. You just saw the relationship. There we are measuring the integrated effect as well as the interactive effect. This will make you much more clear. It's the 2 by 2 ANOVA table. So by analyzing the crime, the main effect of crime can be found. By analyzing the effect of attractiveness of criminal, the main effect of attractiveness can be found out. Okay. When we combine both these two, then the total effect of attractiveness of a criminal on crime can be found it out. Okay. So each variable is tested. Attractiveness of criminal is one independent variable, crime is another independent variable. First variable is measured in at two levels, ordinary level, attract. So it is a 2 by 2. First is this 2 represents one independent variable. This 2 represents crime represents another independent. So two independent variables. Crime is measured in 2 levels, robbery, swindle. Okay. So 2 by 2. That is the represents 2. So do remember it is a 2 by 2 table. What we want to read 2 by 2 means 2 and another 2. So these two times 2 is there. So two independent variables there. Then these two represents two treatments of the first independent variable and two treatments at the second independent variable. Okay. Here it is an example of age and music. How much which music that you will like? The youngsters. Age may be young, old. Maybe you can prefer rock, classical, or no music. Then here, independent variable age is measured at two levels, young and old. Then and independent variable music is measured at three different levels. It is actually how we can return it. This is actually a 2 by 3, 2 into 3, 2 by 3 design it is. Okay, because two independent variables. First independent variable is measured treated in two ways, and second independent variable is measured at 3 levels. Then around 20 participants assigned to each cell, and each cell is tested for. Now the corona days are there. The vaccines are testing, and what they are trying to do is they are doing medication in such a way. They are selecting after the clinical trials or the animal trials. They are selecting a sample of around 30. Then they selected that 30 samples. Then one experimental group is there, one control group is there, and all of them are given a medicine. And only the researchers know who will be given the real medicine. Then and the pills look like that, or the vaccine look like similarly. But some vaccines are maybe water or not at all medicine. And after a period, they observe it carefully how it is. Then and also then after the first stage, they will subsequently extended it to maybe 300 samples, maybe 1,500 samples of different age category, different sex category, different ethnic groups. They are observing and analyzing the changes. Then if you want to do a design, prepare a design like that, then definitely we must make use of factorial design. Okay. Then you can come. This is actually 2 by 3 design. Maybe you can extend much beyond that. Maybe 2 by 3 by 4. Maybe you can add another variable. Then maybe country of origin like that. Uh, Here it is maybe 4 or 5. Then any number it is possible. But do remember one important thing is that when you select a variable, it should be so specific, it should be so precise. Then only you can conduct a study. When we make a conclusion that when we analyze suppose when we identify a variable like this, it is in the sorry, not this one, this one, communication. Brand experience. These the variables that we identified is actually enough for answering this independent variable. There should not be any extraneous variable, or intervening variables like that. We want to avoid all these things. Then only you can prepare a very good study. So the environmental friendliness, the variety of color availability, how Spain becomes environmentally friendliness. We have identified around 13 different variables. Then none of the variables is actually overlapping with each other or overlapping with any other variable. So it requires extreme literature review, and that is the prime focus. And we can prepare the methodological side of that. So based upon this, we are arriving at a conclusion that then we have identified mainly three different research designs. First is an exploratory research design, then a conclusive research design, maybe a descriptive research design, and also factorial design. So now the question is how you can identify a study as an exploratory research design. Suppose if you just first of all focus on the objectives of the study, the problem of the study. If by looking into the problem of this study, then you can identify the possible answers of that research question. If that possible answers are only possibilities, then not final answers. If you cannot take a conclusion, you cannot take a decision, then that study definitely becomes an exploratory research design. So So basic then, and also, so in a study, if one of the entities, so in the case of paint industry or rubber board, when you conduct a study on rubber board, definitely you will count the rubber protection in Kerala, the schemes of rubber board. You want to describe all these things. Even if you describe it, I describe it, there is no change in that description. The sales performance, number of loans allotted, nothing, area of cultivation. So, but that is only for conducting this study of conducting or moving to our real problem. That doesn't mean that that study is a descriptive one. For facilitating an exploratory study, first of all, we are in need of this much description. So the purpose of descriptive research is to observe or record. Then basically we are using correlation or predicting relationship. Then we can make a cause and effect relationship experiments over there, especially randomized block design or factorial design that you can apply in this descriptive research. So at the same time, there is a confusion. Then in the case of paint industry, we are again applied what factorial design. But here in that case, the data analysis too. So factorial design can be applied not only in what we call it as descriptive research design alone. That is actually the paradox in research methodology. If you can in a qualitative research or a explorative research, you can come out with a what we call it as we can come out with a factorial design. But the data analysis tool is actually different. It may not always be an ANOVA. I mean, it may be Pascal Wallis or something like that. It's an exploratory or qualitative data analysis tool that you want to make use of. So correlation studies are there for predictive relationship. Then selection. Research strategies, qualitative for evaluation, quantitative for interpretation, and depth. That is actually the data. For basic explores the question that you may be curious about, but not intended to be of immediate use. Then that is actually the purpose of exploratory research. So if the answer to a research question is not of immediate use, it just have a findings. That is basic research. Then if it is applied, then if the results of a study can have, because studies having an immediate effect on our society, then if we want to take a decision, I want to take an action on that, then it is definitely a descriptive research or a conclusive research. So as a conclusion, definitely, basically we have three types of research design. First is exploratory, second one is descriptive, and the third one is actually causal research design. In causal research design, which may be number of randomized block design or factorial design, it's like that. Basically, look into the outcome of the research study. Then, if the outcome is changing or tentative or not of immediate use, it's an exploratory research design. And if the outcome is changing, then outcome will not change. And if it's having immediate use, I mean, you want to make a suggestion on that, then it is actually a descriptive research design or conclusive research design. Okay, so before doing this, I mean, we prepare this research design actually before proceeding with this, before proceeding with the actual study. I mean, immediately after clarifying the problem, means after conducting the literature review, it is not at all a simple step. I mean, you have to make an elaborate literature review. Then only you can conduct it. You can prepare a research design. If you proceed, so if you have a clear-cut idea like what I show in the case of decorative paint and rubber board, then you know, I mean, what type of answer that you are in it. When you club it further, then definitely you can conduct this study. So you are liable to end up someplace else and not even know. Suppose if you are not preparing a research design like this, then if you don't have a blueprint, take a printout of this research design, then paste it in your room or paste it in your book, then proceed with that study. If you are not preparing it, then definitely you don't know what is exactly your studies. Then actually you are liable to end up someplace else and not even know about it. Where you started it, you don't know, and where you end up it, also you don't know. Then if you don't have a very good research. So thank God. Then because the time is limited, then I just brush upon the certain slides. Then and also focus is given on certain areas where you are given more emphasis. Okay, that is why actually the time is permitted up to 10:50 or 11. Now the time is around 11:20, 11:10. Sorry for that. Okay, so thank you all. Any queries?
Thank you, Vin sir. It is time for putting your queries. The participants You are called to make your queries directly to the resource person. Hello, participants, you are.
Tell me,
Oh,
if you have any confusion or any queries relating to your study, you can clarify now.
Okay, Dr. Binu sir, let me ask a question on behalf of the research scholars. Okay.
Tell me, sir.
Yes. The point being that you see, we are designing a research based on variables, independent, dependent variables, and also you clearly mentioned about extraneous variables. Okay.
Yeah.
See, how can we reduce the effect of extraneous variables through a proper design? Can you suggest some methods? Actually, all these designs are meant for that. And can you suggest with a practical example regarding how to control the effect of an extraneous variable in research? This is a question asked by researchers. They have not made any chat in the inbox. Okay. Okay.
Sir, just to see this one. Okay, this is a study actually related to our board. Okay, when this student approached me, this is actually teacher. When this student approached me, sorry, then student approached me. Her study was actually titled "The Role of Rubber Board in Promoting Revenue in Kerala." Role of Rubber Board.